Hey everybody, Dane here. Today we are talking about a very exciting topic, which is productivity. And this is specifically productivity for developers, but honestly, this will apply to anybody that wants to learn productivity. And this isn't just the basic productivity. I'm pulling stuff from $15,000 worth of courses, programs that I bought in the past 12 years. I've been studying this for 15 years, specifically productivity, specifically read 100 plus books on productivity. I mean, I'm saving you guys like 7 grand or 8 grand or whatever if you want to go out and learn this stuff. I'm just going to try to save that for you. I want this video to be like a mini course so you don't have to pay for a Udemy course or whatever, and you're not even going to learn some of this in a Udemy course. I want this to be like a simple, straightforward, small, short video that you can go to, and it has layers. So there's many layers to productivity, and I've structured this video and the document that I'll share in a minute based on that. Okay, so why don't we jump right in? Let's skip all the BS and jump right in to the document, which is kind of like the mini course that we're going to be teaching today on productivity. Okay, so you should be able to see me and see the document here as well. All right, so here's the deal. This is like development is a specifically stressful and a specifically creative field. So it's also very high pressure sometimes. It's also requires systems thinking. There's a lot of, and on top of all of that, sometimes the tasks are very ambiguous, meaning sometimes the tasks that the people want you to do are very ambiguous. Let me take a sip of water. So, because of the ambiguity of the task, sometimes productivity can be challenging as a developer or any knowledge worker. You could be a writer, a creator, a maker, anything. This will apply to you. So, I've broken this down into a few dimensions or layers, however you want to think about it. I'm going to go, and by the way, I've kind of pulled out snapshots from my life and put into the layers so that you see a tangible, realistic example of what I'm talking about. I don't want this to be theoretical. Okay. So layer one, the very first fundamental of productivity layer is you need a calendar, you need a to-do list of some kind, and ultimately you need some kind of reference or filing system and some kind of an inbox. Okay, so very simply, and I'll go through each one, you need a calendar to put the time specific stuff. I have to go to the dentist at this day. I have to go to the whatever at this day, the laundromat at this day, whatever. You need a to-do list, and I'll go through those. You need a reference or filing system. It could be on the computer. It doesn't have to be physical. Don't freak out. And I'll show you how to do it. And then also you're going to need some kind of an inbox. This is a mental processing tool, and I'll explain it. So first, let's touch on calendar. Let's see if I can make this like much bigger for you guys. Okay, there we go. So the first one is calendar. Here's an example kind of calendar with a daily routine on it. I like to go to sleep, wake up slowly, drink coffee, and then do a morning routine, a high performance end of day routine. And then you might put your schedule in the middle of the day where all the white space is there. You might put go to the dentist, go do chores. If you're doing deep work, like let's say you need to code on like a new project, you'd put a big fat 5 hour block called deep work block, programming, new feature, blah, 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 right? So you kind of use the calendar to structure what's going on your day-to-day basis. I really recommend no matter what, you do, if you need to pick one thing, start with the calendar. Okay, everything I've structured this like mini course such that everything builds on the thing before it. So if you like can only do a handful of things, do the first, second, third thing. So calendar, to-do list, and I'll explain that. Okay, so calendar, that's the simplest one. Everybody understands calendar, right? Now, to-do list. Now, before I get into my to-do list, so a to-do list can be in any type. I don't care what app. It could be Todoist, Things, Microsoft To Do, ClickUp, Trello. It could be Basecamp. I do not care what to-do list you use, and it really doesn't matter. But there's a number of different philosophical mechanisms or philosophical approaches when it comes to how to use your to-do list. Okay, so I'm going to give you a snapshot of mine just so you see it. Maybe we can zoom in here as well. So I know it's a little bit blurry since I'm zooming in with you. I actually am not even sure if you can see me zooming in here. So let me, instead of doing it that way, let's kind of try to blow it up this way. No. Okay, well, let's just hope that you can read this. So basically the gist here is this is an example to-do list. Okay, I've got some stuff I'm working on with a friend. I've got a new company I'm working on, some marketing stuff. I've got some personal stuff with me and my wife. So that's a typical to-do list, right? Here's another example of a to-do list. This might be like a running list. You keep like movies to watch or books to read or things to learn or visualization or what am I thinking about lately? Like these are example lists. And here's an example of how I do a to watch list. I have like shows that I love and movies I love and movies I'm exploring and shows I'm exploring. So you can break it down any number of ways. You could get very creative, right? Now, first, there's one philosophy with to-do lists called projects versus tasks. This philosophy is basically like projects. You could put project, you could like either track your projects only. Some people do that. Some people only track their projects. So they would put big tasks here. They'd be like, build website or something like that. That might be a project. And then they might say code X feature. You know what I mean? They might do that. And some people do that and they find it very productive to keep it zoomed out. You would call this projects view equals zoomed out. Okay. And then some people are the exact opposite. You can see here, I do tasks. I have like a bunch of little tasks and then I group them into projects. So that's what it means when it says project versus task. You want to experiment with both. And we'll talk about experimentation later in the episode. So you'll want to experiment with both. Then there's another sort of philosophy that comes from Cal Newport called areas of life. And this is talked about on his Deep Work podcast and all of his books and everything. And that is contradictory to a philosophy called next action lists by David Allen. That's talked about in his book, Getting Things Done. So these are completely contradictory, but let me explain how they both work. Okay. So areas of life by Cal Newport, what this means is like you would probably have some kind of a list or a whatever, and you would put the different areas of your life that you had. Like, let's say you're a developer, you're a developer, you're a developer, you're a podcaster, and let's say you're an aspiring CTO. So you would put your tasks for that development, like code X feature for team. Maybe for podcaster, you'd say record at 39 or 38. And then for aspiring CTO, maybe you say learn high level framework XYZ, right? So this way this is the philosophy where you split out your life into roles or areas, and then kind of it's the theory is basically that it's easier to manage. I don't agree with any. Try it. My thing is like there's no one best way. There's no one best productivity method. All of this shit is experiments that you need to run, that you need to execute, and you need to try. Put all of these on a list. One time per week, try them all for 2 weeks, one at a time. Structured, simple, clean, one at a time. And you might find one that works for you. So this is areas of life. You might, and I've tried this where I have every single thing. Like I even have like, homeowner, car owner, you can have like your personal. So maybe you own a car, right? So you're a car owner. Maybe you own a home. So you're a homeowner. Maybe you own a real estate portfolio. So you're a real estate investor, whatever, right? So then you would have like close on flip XYZ at 4038 Maple Lane. You know what I mean? Like, so you would kind of put your tasks like this. So this is one approach. It's called areas of life. Okay. So the different alternative approach to this is what David Allen teaches in Getting Things Done, which is called next action lists. So the simple way to think about this is you have a list of projects, and let me show you exactly what I mean. Look at this right here. This is technically, it's not exactly like David Allen would say, but this is a list of projects theoretically. Okay. Then what you do is you put tasks into those projects. Then you pull out tasks for today and view that. And that's exactly what I've done here. So here is the today view. You can see right here. And so this today view perfectly exemplifies the David Allen next action list Getting Things Done system, where every next action for each project is exposed or presented on this specific view. So this is one approach. Okay, so these are two alternative approaches. Neither is better. Okay, they're both good for different people. It really depends on your personality type, what type of brain you have, all that type of stuff. Okay. Then, now let's talk about Kanban versus list. So this is kind of like a way to display your productivity list. So when we go to like actually display our productivity or present our productivity, we could do it in one of two ways. Kanban is Trello, or Asana has Kanban and lists, or ClickUp has Kanban. So Kanban basically is just this image right here. It's columns, and that's all. There's no lists. It's columns. Okay. So that's what Kanban means. Now, Kanban is useful when you have a lot of stages. So, for instance, one would be creating a podcast, or deploying a website would be a great one. For a podcast, you might have like column one here, to do, might say to outline. Column two might be ready to record. This is for like if you're a podcaster. And then column three might be recorded. Column four might be ready to edit. Column five might be, edited. Six might, do you see what I'm saying? So it's pretty straightforward. You guys understand. And honestly, this is a really, really useful method. And Trello does use this kind of Kanban implementation. And I really like it. I really love the Kanban system. I've used it many times in the past. I don't currently use it right now, but if I'm working on like something with a lot of complicated steps, like if there's like 5, 8, 10, 20 steps, you better believe that shit is going to go on a Kanban, and every step is going to be a different column. And I'm going to be dragging people through there, especially if it's people like when I worked as an executive at a tech company, right? Like if you're hiring somebody, there's like 17 fucking steps that you have to do, right? So you take all the hires, put them on the Trello board, and then you're like, okay, sent this document, added access to here, added here, right? So this is kind of a great way to approach it. The alternative to this is a list. Okay, y'all know what lists are. This is a list right here to watch, blah, blah, blah. It's just a list. Simple list, not that hard to explain. So these are completely alternative approaches. One is a list. One is a horizontal Kanban kind of interface. And, both are worth experimenting with. So if you've never experimented with these approaches, I know you probably have experimented with lists, obviously, but if you've never experimented with Kanban, give it a try, add it to your list of things to experiment with. We'll talk about that in a minute. The third critical item in layer one, or the first dimension, is that you're going to need some kind of a reference system. This is absolutely critical. If you don't have some kind of system that allows you to pull up everything that you learned in the past, or stuff that you were thinking about in the past, then your brain is subconsciously going to be always processing and trying to process open loops, because as humans, we really just suck at keeping all the loops closed. So we're going to open loops in our brain, and that's normal. That's totally normal, but you need some kind of a reference system for that. So like if you're a developer, I need to see, and this is Evernote. So a great way to do this for completely for free, guys, is Evernote. This is like a fantastic reference system. So I have a notebook, and every sub notebook to that stack, or I have a stack called reference, every notebook is a thing. So if I was a developer, I would have Ruby Rails right here. And then I would have Python. I would have Node.js. If I'm learning a framework of Node.js like Meteor, I would have Meteor, right? And then I would put everything I've learned into that. And there's actually a little Evernote right here on my browser on the top right. There's a little Evernote icon, because it gives you the functionality to actually clip different things from the web and save it directly into your Evernote notebooks. Right now, it's trying to get me to save it into health and wellness. You see that? So that's just like a great example of how to approach this, because like y'all need a reference system of some kind. Now, sometimes people do it in physical form. Sometimes people have files like filing cabinet, but I'm assuming you guys watching this are kind of tech savvy. You're going to be more of the type of people to be paperless, and I'm just like you. So very much so, this is something that you want to use online. Evernote is a fantastic example. Okay. And by the way, there's a lot of different ways to do a reference system. You could do it A to Z. I see that a lot. You could do it by topic. I have tried A to Z, where you would put A, B, C, D. Literally every notebook would be a different letter, A, B, C, D, and then you put everything. I don't like that. I like by topic, just because it's the way I think. I think by topic. It's a little bit cleaner. It's a little bit simpler. Now, by the way, okay, another approach to this could be Roam Research, Obsidian, or etc., or linked, or other linked node note tools. So another approach, okay, it's up to you. I would experiment with both. This is what's called, okay, this thing that right here, this is called a hierarchical I cannot spell hierarchical reference system. Okay. And this is not better than there's no like one best way. You need to experiment with both. This is a hierarchical reference system where there's a hierarchy of data. Now, the alternative to this would be a lateral reference system, sort of like Rome Research or Obsidian. So I would love if you experiment with both. I spent many, many months in 2020 and 2021, almost the entire year of 2020 playing with Rome Research. I loved it. I was super passionate about it. It was one of my favorite things. It took for me, it just what, I probably should use it more, but it's just not something that like is simple. It's not the simplest thing ever. I'm kind of one of these guys that just wants the simplest, cleanest, like I just want it to be real quick and easy. I've got too much shit going on to get worried about like this, it's just not for me. But if you're an academic, if you're somebody that has a lot of like nodes that link together in your day-to-day job, like an academic writing a thesis, well, you probably would benefit a lot from Rome Research, most likely, or Obsidian or whatever, right? The last thing that you're going to need is an inbox. Okay, this could be a physical inbox. This is obviously what you're seeing here is physical, or it could be a digital inbox. Now, an inbox, the concept of an inbox is cognitive processing delay. So an inbox allows me, and I will tell you, if you've never physically done this, implement these tools, it will change how you feel. I am not kidding about that. The reason I'm recording this video is I've had the experience 78 times in my life where I'm overwhelmed and I go through and do a cleanup using a principle, using an audio system that follows very closely to what I'm teaching you today. Obviously, it's not entirely everything I'm teaching. It's just little bits of it. And it made me feel different. It literally, when I'm done and I have my inbox set up and I have all my notes in my inbox and everything's cleaned up and organized, like I feel better. I feel different. Okay. I want you guys to be able to feel that. If you've never implemented any productivity measures, you've never really felt that feeling. And if you've never implemented an inbox, you 100% have never felt that feeling. Okay. The concept here is like get an inbox, put it on your desk or put it in your room somewhere or your office, or it could be digital. Okay. If it's digital, then I'm just going to go up here. So if it's digital, put it in Evernote and make a note that says inbox, a notebook that says inbox. Every single thought that you have goes in there first. And then from there, you process it and go through and process it out. Okay. Sometimes you're going to process it and put it in the reference. Sometimes you'll process it and put it in your to-do list. Sometimes you'll process it and be like, oh, that's a dentist appointment. You'll give them a quick call and put it on your calendar, right? But the flow is that it goes into the inbox, and when it goes into the inbox, it flows out into the 3 different types. And there's like a great, I'm telling you guys, I never thought that like, oh, an inbox is going to make me feel better. There is something subconsciously going on inside of our brains when we don't have something like this, where your brain is working just so much more than we realize. I'm convinced in 150 years, we will look back and laugh at the way we do things right now, because 150 years from now, there will be functional MRIs that show us very easily that if we don't have an inbox like this, our brain is working at 30%, 50%, 60% capacity, something like that. I can feel it. And I'm telling you, I've taught this to a lot of people. It's the way it works. Okay. This kind of ends the basics of layer 1. Okay. I'm going to go into some bonus principles here for layer 1. This is all bonus. Okay, next is everything bonus. This is the fundamentals. If you're done with this video, do these things. Do not worry about anything else. Do these. But if you want to get more advanced, this is where we go into another layer. We're about to step it up and step it up and step it up. Okay, here's the next layer. Okay, this is a bonus principle. Okay, this is called the singularity of focus principle. I learned this in a $7,000 course in 2015. So this is something that is another thing that will make you feel different. You want to in the principle, and by the way, this isn't one is better than the other. I want you to experiment. I want you to make a list of every one of these things and run it as an experiment to see if it works. Don't worry about, do I like what he's saying? Do I not? Liking, disliking bias is going to kill you. Most people, it does kill them. So for you, make a list of all these experiments, run it to see if it helps your life, if it helps you get to your goals, if it helps make your life better. Okay. This one is called the singularity of focus. Here, what we're going to do is have one of everything, only one. And I'm not exactly obedient to the, I'm not exactly a disciple of this, but I've tried it and it does feel very interesting. I'm just going to tell you. So like you have one monitor, one phone, one laptop, not a desktop and a laptop, one computer, one laptop, one notebook, not 6 notebooks, one notebook for designs, one notebook for to-do, like one notebook, one to-do list, one calendar, one inbox, one language, one framework, one project, one website, one Twitter account, one blog, not 3 blogs, a blog on my website, a blog on dev.to, a blog on Medium, one blog. Like, this is a principle that is absolutely life-changing if you apply it. Okay, I'm not going to go super deep on here. A lot of the times also, like, photos are a big one. Like, people have photos in iCloud, Google Drive, Dropbox, and Google Photos. Like, what if you only had photos in one place? Put all of those photos in iCloud, and then maybe do a backup one layer, everything on iCloud, open the Google Drive Photos app and let it back up. So like maybe you have one layer of backup, right? But it's not like going to all these different places, just one layer of backup. Another example of this is file management. A lot of times people have files on Google Drive, and I'm not perfect with this, guys. I have this issue as well. You'll have files on Google Drive, desktop, iCloud, Dropbox, Box.net. I've had all of those accounts. I've got files strewn everywhere. So I had to make a concerted effort to put everything in one place. And it does make you feel completely different. It's a complete game changer. This is something I need to learn more. I need to do better at this. I'm not perfect with this, but this is the life-changing principle. Okay. The second bonus principle, okay, is basically to build out a file structure that mirrors one another. This is bonus. You do not have to do this, but this is an advanced principle, okay? So, and by the way, guys, just to real quick mention this, all of this, projects, list, task, Kanban, reference, all of this can be done in Notion, okay? So like Notion can have, so Notion and like Coda or whatever it is, Code.io, these can do all of the above. So if you're a Notion guy, or if you've heard about Notion, you could do a reference system, you could do a project management, you could do a to-do list, you could do a habit tracker. All of that can go into Notion. Okay, so if that's easier for you, then do that. Okay, I'm just giving you, these are the principles. Later, I do use Notion. I have an extensive Notion, and maybe I'll go into that in a later video. If you're interested in that, comment below. But this is just the principles. Okay, so for now, I'm sticking to the principles. This file structure, this is a bonus, building out a file structure. So an example would be, let's say you're a developer, let's say you're a Ruby on Rails developer. Let's say you're a Ruby on Rails developer for Thoughtbot, which is a great Ruby on Rails company. You would have a Thoughtbot Google Chrome bookmark with all of the Thoughtbot files. You would have an Evernote note or a Notion note with Thoughtbot, where you have a folder Thoughtbot with all the notes and all the different projects and stuff. And then you would have, like, if you have a file on your desk, like some physical papers like this, you would have a file for Thoughtbot, right? Like, that's the thesis. The thesis is that there's a mirror of everything across one another. So this is kind of like the mirror thesis, right? And this is really helpful. If you have a lot of projects going on, set up a mirror where everything is mirrored everywhere. Like on your phone, you open iCloud files, it says Thoughtbot there. Like everything is mirrored clean as fuck. On your to-do list, it says Thoughtbot. Like everything is nice and neatly organized and mirrored. So this is simple, okay? But again, this is bonus because you don't have to do this. Now, here, I'm going to give you like an example mirror file structure, right? This is completely just like an example. So an example would be to use like the different areas of life as the source structure for the mirror: personal health, career, learning, wealth, relationships, happiness. So like an example would be breaking it down. So in the mirror, you might have Google Drive bookmarks mirrored to files, mirrored to physical paperwork, etc. For all of these, maybe you go fitness, diet, sleep, wellness, and mental health. And then maybe you have a subfile for stoicism, a subfile for sleep info, subfile for diet, workout. And then same for career, right? Maybe you have your Thoughtbot folder right here. And then you have your blah, 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 right? So you could do it any number of ways. And then here are the different things you're learning. And then maybe your wealth file here. So this is cool, guys, because here on Google Drive, you can make a Google Chrome bookmark. So these can be Google Chrome bookmarks. And I just wrote this here. So these can be Google Chrome bookmarks and Evernote notebooks. So like if you have a reference like website that you go to for workout info, you could bookmark it in Google Chrome. And then like, let's say you're building a workout tracker, you could have Notion or Evernote notebook where you have your workout tracker. But the way to get there is the exact same. You click health, fitness, workout. So that way in your head, every time you go to like the workout thing, you go health, fitness, workout, health, fitness, work, everywhere it's the same. Really nice. And this is like a great principle if you're like chaotic or disorganized. This is kind of like more advanced because not everybody needs to do this. You know, an example for wealth would be like you have your crypto. And this is like a really cool thing, right? So crypto, you would have a Google Chrome bookmark with crypto trackers and your accounts. And then you might have a Notion document with, in the same structure, you click wealth, crypto, then there's a Notion document with, you know, your trading thesis, right? Because you can't really put your trading thesis in Google Chrome. So you would have that in Notion or Evernote or whatever your file management software is or note-taking software is, or even Apple Notes, right? Whatever. And then you put your little thesis there, and you could put your next trade ideas as well. And you put your trade tracker. If you have a spreadsheet to track your trades, you put that spreadsheet inside Notion, you put that spreadsheet inside Evernote, or if it's a Google Sheet, you put it in the Chrome bookmark spreadsheet link right here. Do you see what I'm talking about? So this kind of like makes everything nice and simple and organized so that you have a lot of different areas of life with a lot of complexity. This way it allows you to kind of see cleanly into what's going on. Okay, layer one, done with layer one. All right, let's move on to layer two. So this is where it gets a little bit more, each layer is more and more advanced, okay? So layer two is a really interesting layer. The first layer is all about objects, to-dos, projects, lists, tasks, reference, resources, materials, objects, inboxes, everything object related is first dimension, layer one. The second dimension or layer two is all about how those objects relate to the traversal of time. So as time moves forward, those objects change in time. And sometimes they go up on a graph, sometimes they go down on a graph, sometimes they don't, blah, 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 right? Those objects simply change over time. So what I've done is I've kind of taken my personal systems and taken screenshots and stuff for you guys to check out. So layer two is all about tracking. So example, okay, we talked about your structure here, right? You have your little structure of health, fitness, diet, sleep, wellness, right? So now we're talking about trackers. Well, what if you tracked hours slept every day? What if you tracked how many steps you took a day and you put it into a tracking system? Well, what if you tracked how many meditation minutes you completed or how many tutorials? Like if you're learning to code, how many tutorials did you complete? Or how many dates did you go on with your significant other, right? Those are examples of good things to track because again, this productivity isn't an isolated event. Productivity doesn't happen once in your life. Productivity is your relationship with objects as time moves forward through life. Like your relationship with object. I mean, that's what it is. I know that's kind of a weird esoteric way to look at it, but it's just the way it is. So this is absolutely critical, guys. Here's an example. Okay, so let me kind of put some space between the next one so we can focus on this one. I know it may be hard to see. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. So here we have when you fell asleep. This is a tracker. This is a simple spreadsheet. When you woke up, how much sleep time did you get? How much sleep percentage did you get? How many steps did you get? How many push-ups did you do? Did you do your mindset work? Did you do gratitude work? Did you do it? How many minutes did you meditate? How many bottles of water did you drink or a gallon? Or it could be in increments of a gallon. So 0.5, 0.75, whatever. What was your diet like on a score of 1 to 10? Did you do supplements? Yes, no. Did you plan tomorrow, today? And how many pages did you read? Or did you read? So this is just an example like tracker for health. These are all health related things. both mental health. Notice a lot of this is mental health, mindset, gratitude, meditation, water, push-ups, all that's, I know it sounds physical, but a lot of the times steps and push-ups and sweating and stuff, that all is mental health as well. So this is just a health tracking spreadsheet. The one thing I will say is if you do not have something like this is probably the biggest bang for your buck in layer 2. Everything I'm going to talk about in layer 2, which is not a ton, this is the biggest bang for your buck. Use something like this, pull open Google Sheets or pull open Numbers or whatever, or Excel, and copy this. Copy something like that. I had to spend a lot of money for a coach, not recently, guys. I haven't bought anything really expensive recently just because life's been crazy, right? But back in the day, I had to spend a lot of money to learn this. I know it sounds stupid, like you could just learn this, but a lot of the times we don't think about stuff. Like self-awareness is the biggest issue. If you don't know it, if you've never even had the thought that I'm going to put my hours slept on a spreadsheet, how the fuck are you going to think of that? If you've never in your entire life had that thought, it's like almost nearly impossible to have that thought randomly. Like I had to be taught this. I know that sounds dumb, but thankfully I learned it so I could teach you guys. So now y'all don't have to spend $5,000. So I'm just showing you here. Now, I'm going to give you another example of a tracking sheet. Okay, this is business related. I've put like a bunch of dummy like metrics in, and I've just put some like data in there randomly. And I've also kind of spec'd it out, just like a basic business, a service business, maybe like a freelance business, whatever. Okay, this is just very basic. But here's an example. Okay, you would have your month, September, October, November, December. You'd have the different types of projects. Let's go to landing page views, opt-ins, group members, outflow sent, meaningful combos, booked calls, appointments due, showed, offers made, deposits enrolled. So this is just like an example, right? I just put some dummy data in here. So this gives you the ability to track on a business perspective. Okay. And again, the main gist of layer 2 is tracking. This is the main gist. If you don't take away anything else, I want you to start tracking your life and slowly implement this. Put it on your spreadsheet, experiment. Put it on your little experiment list. If it's a spreadsheet or a to-do list, whatever, make a little list of things to experiment with from this video, and then put spreadsheet to track my health data. And by the way, guys, you do not need, I don't have an Apple Watch right now. I gave it to my wife. I do not have any tracker. It's easy to track this stuff. When did you go to sleep? Oh, it was about 11:30. When did you wake up? It was about 5:45. Like, it's not that hard to do this. Oh, how many steps did you do? Open Pedometer Plus, free app, by the way, on your iPhone. Put your phone in your pocket when you're walking, or if you're on a call, it'll track it. And look at I mean, this stuff is trackable without any advanced tools. Okay, you do not need any tools. I don't have any tools except Pedometer Plus. I would say you will need Pedometer Plus for your phone, your iPhone. And if you're on Android, there's thousands of free step trackers on Android. Okay. Now, if you do run a business, you might want to implement something like this. Alternatively, I'm going to scroll up so I don't confuse you guys too much. If you're just a developer or a career-oriented person, maybe instead of tracking business stuff, maybe you track career stuff. What was my income last year? What was my income in 2016? How much was my salary plus bonuses in 2019? Like, track this stuff, put it on a spreadsheet, have some fun with this. This is fun, right? Like, I know it doesn't seem like fun, but guys, this is the management and productivity of your own life. Like, enjoy this part of it. Okay. Now let's move on to layer 3, or the third dimension. This is where it gets a little bit more complicated, but in a good way, not in a negative way, in a completely good way. Okay. Here's the deal. Let me go ahead and let me push this down so you don't really see it. Okay. So here's the deal. Layer 3 is all about belief systems. What causes your ups and what causes your downs, really, we could put them on a graph. Okay. We talked about graphs and stuff before in layer 2, tracking. A lot of the times when you track something, you'll put it on a graph. For now, let's just focus on belief systems. Now, The third dimension is all about manipulating your mental projections. Now, if you truly are somebody that wants to do great things, like if you want to make 500K per year at Google, if you want to be a developer, a high level developer, if you want to be a business owner, if you want to be a lawyer or an accountant or a $300 million company owner, whatever the fuck it is, right? Whatever you want to be, you want to found a startup, be a CTO of a venture backed startup and take 50 million into your bank account, whatever it is that you want to do, help a billion people, you need belief systems that are related to the type of person that you need to become to do that. So if you have a grand goal that is going to make your life more exciting, like I want to help 10 million people, or I want to make $10 million, or I want to retire my mom, or I want to retire my brother, or whatever it is, your identity needs to be reinforced closely to the type of person you need to be to become that, the type of person you need to become to do that. The type of person you are now cannot do that. This is something that like people don't quite understand is mindset isn't just, oh, how do I think? That's not what mindset really is. Mindset is the manipulation of your mental projection of yourself to allow you to slowly move towards your goals and move further away from the things you don't want. Okay. Now, an example of this, okay, how do you manipulate your belief systems? An example of this would be to have a credo. So I actually went online to one of my mentors, a program that costs like 5K, a different one. And this is a mentor of my mentors. And this is something he linked called, I can't even pronounce it, Kakaisha's Credo. Okay, so this is something, this is an example. Okay, you want to make your own. You want to research your own. But for now, this is an example. Like, let's read one or two. People will do almost anything to stay in their comfort zone. If you want to accomplish anything, get out of your comfort zone. Strive to increase order and discipline in your life. This is like fantastic to read. Imagine if you woke up every morning and you manipulated your belief systems and your mental projection by reading this. Imagine the type of person you would be. Always show gratitude when earned, monetarily when possible. You're successful when you like who and what you are. See, success isn't just about money. You're successful when you enjoy doing what you're doing. You like who you are. You're proud of what you've done, and you're free. Financially, free of time, but more importantly than all of that, you're free of negative people. You're free of bad people. And you have to become free in your head to be able to be free of bad people first. So when you're free of all of that, you're successful. Okay. And that might be making $75,000 a year or $50,000 a year with 4 kids, and you have a great life and a great wife and a great family. That might be successful for you. Okay. Everybody's definition of success is different, but I want you to actually write it out. What is your definition of success? Okay. And you need to write what your belief systems need to be able to achieve that. And I would encourage you guys to dream bigger. Okay. Why? Well, honestly, the world, you may have noticed the world's not in the best place right now. You might be able to help somebody. What if you could help like 5 people? That's it. What if you could help 5 people? Have you ever heard of the second, third order consequences or exponents in mathematics? Like those people will help people. Those people will help people. If you help 5 people, it's 5 to the 5th, basically, of the people you'll, I mean, it's an insane number of people helped. I know that sounds crazy because logically, our human brains don't think that way. That's why Facebook was able to scale so fast. That's why Twitter was able to scale so fast and grow so fast and bring on the reason success happens in the modern information age is because of the exponential growth of like people and crowds and distribution of ideas, right? But our typical human brain doesn't process that way. So you have to remember, if I just help 5 people, it's kind of like helping 50 people. It's kind of like helping a lot of people. You know, it will be like that because those people will help people, etc. Even if you made them laugh. What if you want to be a comedian? But what if you've always repressed that? I can't do it. There's no way I could be a comedian. Well, what if you could become a comedian and make 5 people laugh every 3 days? Maybe you put out a YouTube video where you made 5 people laugh every 4 or 5 days. That's it. But then those people laugh, they go home, they're a little bit happier with their family. They're a little bit happier with their spouse. Their spouse is a little bit happier. Their spouse goes to work. There was a guy who was going to get angry and go run off and smash his car into the side of the road, but his spouse chatted with him, felt good about herself because she was laughing at home, told a joke to him. So, I mean, guys, this is not like, this really happens. You can save people from suicide. You can save people. You just have to be a good natured, positive person. And you don't want to be overly positive. Okay. You don't want to be overly negative. You just want to be able to dream bigger and have some kind of goal for your life that allows you to move towards stuff that you truly want. Okay. This isn't that complicated. I'm just kind of giving you the breakdown. Now, the next section is talking about experiments. Let's see if we can make this a little bit bigger. No, that doesn't help. So experiments are, okay, so the topic of experiments is what I've been talking about throughout this video. I kept saying, put this on a list, make an experiment. This is like exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. Here's a list of experiments. You like, here's a Twitter, or here's an Instagram experiment. Maybe you try to use hashtags on every post. Here's an experiment where you do 100 push-ups every day, right here. Here's an experiment where you take an 18-minute nap in the afternoon. Here's an experiment where you brush your teeth at night instead of during the day, right? So there's all types of different experiments that you can run, and you want to put them on a list and try them, like try to execute them and see if it helps your life, see if it improves your life or whatever, okay? Now, you can copy my list of experiments, or you could come up with your own. Okay. There's a lot of experiments I've given you in this video. Now, the third aspect of layer 3 is systems thinking and mental models. Okay. So I've just put a couple like very simple systems thinking principles here in this document. You might want to copy these, take a note of these, take a screenshot of these, whatever. I'm not going to go through all of them. We don't have time. But these are the core fundamentals for systems thinking: non-linearity, counterintuitive nature of systems, local actions, global impact, local maxima optimization versus global maxima optimization, all this type of stuff. Being aware of false boundaries. This is one of my favorites: false boundaries, false rules, false laws. A lot of y'all that struggle with dreaming big or thinking big, you put false rules on yourself. I can't do this. I don't like this. I'm not the person that does this. Well, you made that up. You made that up. And if you're a systems thinker, not if you're better than anybody else, that's not what we're talking about. If you're a simple systems thinker, you'll see that, because you'll go, wait a minute, am I putting a false belief here? Is it a rule of law? Is it a law of physics that I can't do this? Well, no, therefore I can't, right? So it's going to be hard. By the way, that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It might be the hardest thing you ever did. It might take you 25 years of effort, but anything is possible. Okay. So this is just a bunch. I want you to take notes or take a screenshot of these. There's a lot of stuff here. Okay. Concern for balance. I mean, there's just a lot of depth to these. Feedback loops feedback loops might be one of the most powerful things in the history of the world. We don't even have time to go into that. Okay. Now let's move on to layer 4. We're almost done. This is like 5-10 more minutes. Layer 4. This is kind of like interesting, right? So I'm going to talk about it for a minute before I show you it. Layer 4 is about creating your story. Here in layer 3, we talked about like dreaming big and creating a belief system and then manifesting that belief system we talked about like manifesting the belief system by putting together principles that you reinforce daily such that you can move closer to the true goals that you have and further away from the goals that you don't want or the things you don't want, right? We talked about systems thinking being a way to do that. So, and experiments to be a way to do that. Now, when you go about that process, one thing that you'll want to try and experiment with is to come up with a story. You want to try this. You want to make an experiment with this. Come up with a story. Write your entire life story out on a piece of paper. And then I want you to write out the next 5 years. What do you want the story to be? What if you were the main character? Write out a story. Bought company for $20, flipped it for $30,000. Like, write out a story. I know that sounded ridiculous, but just write out a story. I'm going to show you an example from my life of my story. Okay. So this is just purely an example. I use Keynote to create like little boxes. And then I just put my like little story. Now, one advanced form of this is to put pictures. Every single box that you see here, I'm going to eventually be putting pictures. Here's my story. Okay. So this is the Dane Miller story. And if we scroll down, it starts here. Heroin addict, moves home, gets creative, sell everything, move to Chicago, right? So you guys all know my story if you've watched my YouTube video about my story. First job as a web developer, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's just keep going through it. I'm going to skip all this. And by the way, I didn't put everything in here. I didn't do a very good job. I skipped like a whole bunch of stuff. I skipped all the stuff at Google, all the stuff at IARPA. Just this story is like very high level. I need to do another version of this. Just as a side note, I need to do a much better version of this. I moved home, met my wife, launched a new coaching program, got hired as blah, 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 blah. But then right here, I actually created a new story. So like, what if this is the future? What if I created a top 50 podcast? What if I created a top 20 podcasts? What if I bought a warehouse office in North Carolina near my family? What if I went to move to live in Miami for half a month every 2 months? What if I wrote a book that hit a New York Times bestseller? What if blah, blah, blah? And this is something that I really want to do one day when I'm like super successful, like millionaire or whatever, which I'm not at all right now. But we will get there, guys. Just stick with us, stick with me, and we'll get there together. I want to be able, and it's not for me. The only reason I want that goal is to do this. And there's a few other things that are hidden in this document, but this is critical. I want to create a new version of Bell Labs. Bell Labs was this place where thousands of people were employed by Verizon, I think it was, and they just were given the ability to work on whatever they wanted, and they were all PhDs, super geniuses. Nowadays, I wouldn't have just PhDs. I would have people like George Potts, like people that don't have a degree. Mark Zuckerberg doesn't have a degree. I would have people that both are PhDs and regular people, and I would have them work together. I would pay for their salary. I would buy a huge office complex. I want to put it on an island. So they have a great life. So they have a great life and they have a great work environment and they can work on whatever they want. Because if you do the research, Bell Labs created like 17 things that changed our entire world. Bell Labs changed the game. And so if we can build a modern version of Bell Labs, we could potentially have a big impact on the future. So that's one thing I want to do. It's going to probably cost about $100 million to do that, to buy the facility, to pay for 10 years of staff, assuming it's going to take 10 to 20 years. 10 years of staff, 100 to 1,000 staff members, probably more like 1,000. Buy the office, buy the complex, buy the environment, buy the island. That's probably going to be 100 million is conservative. It might be more than that. So like Gary Vee, right? Gary Vee wants to buy the Jets. When he wakes up in the morning, he goes, I want to buy the Jets. I don't give a fuck about sports. So I don't want to buy any sports team. I want to fucking buy an island and build a fucking Bell Labs that employs over 1,000 scientists, hackers, everything you can think of, and artists, and they work together while living their best life to create solutions for this world that we live in. Because if we do not do it, who will? Now, keep in mind, I'm aware of many people trying to do this in the PIF network, the Innovation Fellows at the White House from when I worked in the White House in 2013. There's people that created, there was the inventor of TCP/IP there. He's a coordinator of a group of people that are trying to do this. They're not on an island. They don't, but they're a group of people trying to do this remotely where they coordinate, work together over the internet to try to recreate Bell Labs. The problem is it really seems that Bell Labs was successful because of the real life physical day-to-day, like I bump into you, you bump into me, and we have an idea and then we go off and do it. That seems to be why Bell Labs was so successful after researching it for hundreds of hours, and reading and watching every interview with every living person that worked there. So that's my takeaway, is that it was the most influential thing. And so I want to recreate that. That's just for me, right? This is just an example. I want you guys to have your own goal like that. Like, have a goal that makes you want to dream big. Maybe it's just retire your parents. Maybe it's something bigger. You can do anything you want. You can do anything. Okay, make something exciting. What are you going to do? The question isn't, can you do it? The question is, what are you going to do? And if it's just down here, why? Why not make it way up here? Now, I'm not anywhere near these goals. I'm nowhere even remotely close to any of these goals. Okay. I'm not even anywhere near my financial goals. I'm not even anywhere near like basic stuff. Okay. So I'm kind of giving you guys what is motivating me to keep going and motivating me to move forward. A lot of the times when I've gone through struggles or hardship or been burnt down to the ashes or depressed or anxious and all this type of stuff, these philosophies and patterns that I've used here have allowed me to build myself back up from scratch over and over and over again. And I've done it in multiple industries, multiple times, with multiple career fields in multiple areas. Okay. And I've done it successfully over and over. So I've used these principles in this document to do so. Anyway, that's 1 hour productivity masterclass. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you have any further masterclasses or any topics that you want discussed like this, a free masterclass that's like a paid course, comment below what topic it is you struggle with, or comment below what it is that you're struggling with right now, and I will do a masterclass on that. Okay. All right, guys. See you in the next one.